Alright, this is LSAT PrepTest 20, Section 3, questions 6 through 12. The second logic game of this section. Okay, so what do we have? We have a University Library Budget Committee must reduce exactly 5 of 8 areas of expenditure, G, L, M, N, P, R, S, and W, according to the following conditions. So they have to reduce 5 of 8, meaning that they're going to reduce 5, right? 5 in slots, and they're not going to reduce the other 3. Okay. So what are our conditions here? Our conditions are that if G and S are both reduced, W is also reduced. So G and S implies W. Okay, if N is reduced, neither R nor S is reduced. So N reduced means that R is not reduced and S is not reduced. Okay, P is reduced, L is not reduced. P is reduced, L is not reduced. Of 3 areas, L, M, and R, exactly 2 of them are reduced. Okay, so 2x LMR, that immediately tells us, I think a lot of information, because there's only 3 ways that could possibly happen, right? So if we sort of write out the ways that it could possibly happen, it could be LM and then R out. It could be LR with M out, or it can be MR with L out, right? So these are actually the only 3 ways that that we could possibly satisfy this last rule, 2 of L, M, and R. Right, so we can actually just get rid of this stuff, bring these rules up here, right? And then this actually, oops, nope, didn't want to get rid of those, just wanted to bring those up. And then these actually describe all 3 scenarios of the game, right? So what do we have? So we have, and then now, obviously we can take some contrapositives, and then we can start, filling in even more information, right? So for example, we have L here, right? The contrapositive of this statement is that L implies no P, right? So L implies no P, L implies no P, right? What else do we have? We have N. Do we have any N's here? No, so we don't satisfy that condition. But over here we have R, right? R implies no N, so R implies no N. R implies no N, right? Also, S implies no N. Do we have any S's? No. Okay, G and S. If we don't have, S, we certainly don't have G and S. Do we have any W slashes yet? No. Okay, but look at this, right? Remember that there are 5 of these guys that are reduced and 3 that are not in each of these scenarios. So look what we have here, right here, is that 1, 2, 3 are reduced, which means that we've satisfied, there's no more slots left in this column, right? So everything else has to go over here. So if LRMPN, LRMPN, G, S, and W all have to go over here. G, S, and W. And so this is one of our, we have full information here, right? Okay. What else do we know? We know that P, well, I guess we don't know too much else other than that. Because over here, I was going to say that N implies no R, except that N, like no R, and then there's still room for S here. Although this does actually bring up an interesting question, right, over here. So let's move these over here, because these are basically done with. We have nothing further to do with those. But this one is interesting, right, because there's only a couple different ways that this could go. So let's make a copy. Let's move this over here. And so whenever I see things like this, right, like there's still this gigantically restrictive N rule here, right? So when I see this, I think, well, there's only two other ways this could possibly go. Either N is going to be in, or N is going to be out, right? Well, N implies no R, also implies no S, which means, oh, okay, great. Now we've got 3 people in the out column, so we can actually fill in the rest of these. LMN, and what's left is G and W, right? So this is another fully solved scenario that we have. And this one is too, right? Because we have 3 guys in the out slot, R, P, and N, which means all the rest of these, L, M, G, S, and W, are going to be in, right? So actually, by thinking a little bit about the scenarios that this could possibly play out in, and recognizing that this rule right here is unbelievably restrictive, we come to, we've solved 3 of the scenarios fully, and the only one that has any doubt left whatsoever is this middle one right here, or the second one. There's no middle in 4. Okay, so what do we have? We have M, we have R, we have L, we have N, so we have to fill in G, P, S, and W in this one. But that's all we have to do, right? So this is fantastic, because this means that far from having just like, like it initially just seemed like it would be a bunch of conditional rules, and then we'd have to go to the answer choices to make any sense of them. Now, like we know that's not the case. Now we actually just know that some of these guys are fully solved, right? So let's actually rearrange a bunch of these to make some space. And I'm actually curious whether I can fit these all in one column. If I can make these a little smaller, put them down here, success. Great. Right, so we can actually just number these. 1, this is 2, scenario 3, scenario 4. Right, and so now we've got a ton of information here. So let's draw this line and go to the answers, or go to the questions rather. Okay, so question 6. Which of the following can be a complete and accurate list of areas of expenditure reduced by committee? So go ahead and write these out for you guys. So GLMNW, GLMPW, GMNRW, GMPRS, LMRSW. So GLMNW is actually right here. GLMNW. So you know automatically answer choice A has to be right because we figured it out, right? So that's just scenario 3. Looking at the rest of these, they all violate one rule or another. Let's start with P implies not L, or L implies no P here. So basically they can't be together, right? L and P are together here, but nowhere else. N implies no R and no S. N implies no R. Okay. The rest of these look okay on that front. G and S imply W, so we have G and S, but no W here. And then answer choice E. What's wrong with the answer choice E? Oh yeah, I'm an idiot. There's exactly 2 of the 3 of L, M, and R that are reduced. So that can't be it either. Right? Okay. So answer choice A is the answer, and you see that very quickly from the work we did beforehand. But if not, you can run through the rest and just convince yourself real quick. Okay, so question 7. If W is reduced, which of the following could be a complete and accurate list of 4 other areas of expenditure to be reduced? Okay, so W is reduced, so we were in scenario 1, scenario 3, or scenario 4. There's a lot of them, right? Okay, so let's once again write these out. GMPS, LMNR, LMPS, MNPS, and MPRS, right? And so this is actually just pretty easy, because if W is in, like, then we can first check for just one of these, right? And if one of these happens to be in our answer choices, then we can you just straight up go on to the next question. So is LRGS here? No. LMNG, nope, that's not here either. LMGS. LMGS, no, that's unfortunate. Okay, so basically now we know that we're in scenario 2, which means that, here's what we do. We put M, R, put L and N, and now they're telling us W is in as well, right? So what do we have left to place? We have P and S and G all to place, right? Okay, so basically what we're looking at here is we're looking for a way, or looking for a reason to eliminate or basically put one of these guys out. And what I see here is that G and S are related in some sense, right? Like G and P and S and P are not related whatsoever, but G and S are related, right? And the rule here is that if you have G and S, then you must have W as well, right? Which is fine. That's great. And so it looks like that's one possibility. But then, like, looking at these others, for instance, right? GMPS, and I guess we should just go ahead and put in these W's. We can just see if these are valid constructions of elements. Okay, so I mean, this almost seems like another acceptability question once again. So running through a list of rules real quick. P implies no L, or L implies no P. Well, L and P are here together, so no way. R implies no N. R implies no N. Get rid of that. S implies no N. N and S also can't be together, which leaves us A and E. And then here we have M, but we don't have another one of L or R here, right? Because it's the rule here is L, M, R. 2 of these guys, right? We've only got one of them right here. So I mean, in the end, it does see this just turns out to be an acceptability question. even though, since we did all this work up front, we could have just gotten lucky, and if it had fallen into one of these three that we solved already, then that would have been fantastic, and then we could have just, kept going without really much of a second thought. So I guess none of this stuff ended up really mattering either. We can just go through. So actually, let's get rid of this because we don't need it anymore, and we can actually do question 8 in this space. Okay, so what do we have? If P is reduced, which of the following is a pair of expenditures, both of which must be reduced? Okay, so we have P being reduced, which gives us out of here, and out of here, since P is not in any of those, right? So now we have 5 guys here, we have 3 guys here. We know that M and R, the only scenario left is MRLN, right? Which means that now P is also reduced. If P is reduced, L is not reduced. Or so if P is reduced, L is not reduced. So which of the following is a pair of expenditures, both of which also must be reduced? We don't know anything about the rest of them, right? But we do know M and R, right? And so that is actually just answer choice B, right? So this is actually a time where our work in front came in handy, right? We knew that M and R had to be in, and we just dumped P right here, right? The other way you can figure it out is that if you didn't do this work up front, then just P implies no L, and then which means that if L is not in, M and R have to be in, right? According to this rule right here. Okay, moving to number 9. If both L and S are reduced, which of the following could be a pair of areas, both of which are reduced? Okay, so L and S in scenario 1, and again in scenario 4, right? So either we have LRGSW with MPN and out, or we have LMGSW with RPN out, right? So the ask is which of the following could be a pair of areas of expenditure, both of which are reduced, right? So GM, GP, and R, and W, or PS, right? Well, GM, right? That's got to be it. Look, in the rest of these, GP, it's not here, right? And in fact, P has to be out in both scenarios, so you can get rid of answer choice E as well. And then N also has to be out in both scenarios, so you get rid of those as well. So answer choice A turns out to be the right answer here. Number 10, if R is not reduced, which one of the following must be true? Okay, so R is reduced here. R is not reduced, is reduced. Okay, so now we're talking about scenarios 3 and 4, right? So once again, we are comparing LMNGW with RPS with LMGSW with RPN, right? So they're asking which of the following must be true. So it looks like, several things. L has to be in, M has to be in, G has to be in, W has to be in, right? And then R and P both have to be out. In fact, the only thing that's switching places is NS with in or out, right? So it's lots and lots of stuff has to be true here. And so going through these answer choices, answer choice A, G is reduced. Yeah, there we go. Answer choice A has to be it, right? The rest of it, N is not reduced. That doesn't have to be true. P is reduced. That doesn't have to be true. Or P is never reduced, as a matter of fact, right? S is reduced. That doesn't have to be true. It's out here but in here, right? And W is not reduced. W is always, in fact, reduced, right? So once again, by doing this work, we've saved ourselves a bunch of time. Okay. 11. If both M and R are reduced, which of the following is a pair of areas neither of which could be reduced? So we know that answer already, right? It's if M and R is in, then L and N are out. We know L and N are out, and that's answer choice C. We don't even have to do any work, right? Because we already did the work. That's the entire point. And question 12, last question of this session. Which of the following areas must be reduced? Well, here we have W, here we have W, here we have W. So I'm thinking it's a pretty good indication that W is it, but then we actually don't know that for this one. So let's actually figure it out, right? M, R, L, N, and so what's left to place is G, P, S, and W. So the argument here is that W must always be in, right? That's our initial speculation here, right? Because like looking at the answer choices, for instance. For example, answer choice B, C, and D, I think, L, N, and P, right? L doesn't have to be, N doesn't have to be, and P definitely doesn't have to be, right? So B, C, and D are immediately out, which means it's really just a race between G, which we don't know a ton about, and W, which again, we don't know a ton about, but they are related, right? G and S implies W, right? Okay, so if we put, there's basically two ways that we can run this, right? Either we're going to put W in, or we're going to put W out, right? And so since we're checking to see, I decided to start with W, just on a whim. You could also just decide to start with G. It kind of doesn't matter. But I've chosen to start with W. So let's actually just, We want to put it out. Let's see if we can put it out, right? Well, if we put it out, that's 3 elements here, right? Which means that G, P, and S all have to go in the in slot, except hold on a second, wait a second, right? G and S. If G and S are in, that implies W is in, but W is out. So it does seem to be that W has to be in, right? Whereas if you put G out, right? Let's try to put G out here, right? L, N, and G, right? That means P, S, and W are in here, right? And this actually follows all of our rules, right? G and S isn't triggered, so W doesn't necessarily have to be in, even though it is, right? N implies no R and no S. N is not in, so we don't get to trigger that. And then P implies no L. P implies no L. This actually follows all of our rules and still hits our 5-3, right? So we've proven to ourselves, therefore, that answer choice A, which is element G, doesn't have to be in, whereas in answer choice E does always have to be in. And so there's going to be the answer to question 12. And that's the game.